been heated all morning. It was blackberry jelly. And
one of the fellas threw it a mile over.
yeah, one of the boys was so disgusted he just threw it down the mountain.
Oh. Well, when I was at college during the war years, of course, there weren't any fellows to speak of, and then in came the Air Force for training. So we'd watch these fellows march back and forth in front of the dorms, and we'd find something we had to do, you know, stand around there and be available. That was a lot of fun.
Mm. But nobody caught your eye. A lot of things have happened over the years, and this is a chance for each of you. If there's something you'd like to just go ahead and set the record straight, if there's anything you think you'd like to tattle on somebody, this is an opportunity to do that. Is there anything you want to tell on somebody that they might not have told on themselves? Surprise somebody.
Who was it that smoked behind the barn, et cetera, et cetera?
Oh.
Oh, I guess that was something nearly every boy growing up in those days did. Smoke corn stuff out behind the barn or somewhere. No, I don't have anything. I don't know of anyone.
You're too kind. You're afraid they'll get back? Is there anything you want to tell on anybody?
Well, my favorite story, of course, I think everybody knows, when Harry was driving a truck along and saw somebody walking and asked if they would like a ride. The fellow said, well, I don't care if I do. And Harry said, well, I don't care either, and drove on.
Oh, that was Harry Sr., wasn't it? Okay. I wanted to ask each of you, too, if you can tell us how you met. I mean, Vera, I might start with you. We don't have Bill here, but how did you and Bill ever come to meet each other?
Well, I came down here to Maryville College from all the way up there from New Jersey, and I didn't know a soul when I came down here. But it was during our sophomore year, I guess, and he was very noticeable because of course, he played football, and I remember he had this bright red jacket that he used to wear, and I just, you know, that was very noticeable. You could just oh, there's Bill Problem. But he was dating another girl, and so it didn't occur to me that anything might happen there. But I waited tables in the dining hall, and I was in there washing dishes, had my hands in the dishwater, and he came up to the table and he says, I said, what are you doing next Tuesday night? And I was so amazed, I looked up at him and I said, what's Tuesday night? That was town night, you know, we could go to town one night a week, town night, Tuesday night. So he asked me for a date to go to town, to go to movies on town night. So that was when we first started dating. And it just kept right on going.
So that was the end of the old girlfriend.
That was the end of the old girlfriend. Apparently that had fizzled out or something. I don't know what happened. Oh.
Les and Ruth, how did you two come together?
Well, Ruth and I met in church, which just goes to show that a man can get into trouble going to church. But I was just back from World War II, and I stopped by the director of religious education's office because she had sent out an SOS. She needed transportation to take some young people to a retreat up at Mountain Homes. And Ruth was involved in one of the young people's groups that she was going, so I volunteered to take a load up and bring her back, and that is when we met, going to this young
And give him a hard time. That was in October.
I guess.
And this Scotchman, who is very deliberate and whatnot, asked me for our first date in February. Can you believe that?
You don't want to be too hasty, do you? You don't want to rush into something. No.
It still didn't work. I feel fortunate. All his old girlfriends had gotten married while he'd been gone 4.5 years, and he just started from scratch.
And you start. we're going to ask you too to tell us about your children. What offspring can you claim?
Right.
Here? Well, we were very fortunate. We have 2 sons and a daughter, Bill Jr. and Paul and Jean. It was so wonderful after having 2 sons to have a little daughter. We were just so thrilled about that. And each one of them has 2 children, so we have 6 grandchildren.
They are cute.
Well, I was, as Ruth said, when I came up with World War II, I had to look around a while. I was an old man when we got married. Consequently, our son, our firstborn, David, was born when I was 40 years old. They say life began at 40. Well, it certainly did for me. A lot of things changed about that time. But we have 2 children, David and Virginia. And we have 1 grandchild adopted. David and his wife have adopted a little girl.
Whose very musical name is Annalisa. That was her original name. She's an animal lover. Age 3.
Well, here's your last question, and this is more serious, perhaps. Not, maybe not. What has come to be your understanding? What's the meaning of family to you at this point of your life? What do you want to say to us?
Ooh. I can't think of anything much more important. I think sometimes of people who move into town and have no family connection at all, and I just can't imagine what that would be like, because we have so much support from family for little things and big things. I mean, whether it's happy times or when you need some help or something. I mean, you know there's always somebody there, and it's just great. I mean, when you, little things, when you have to take a car in to be serviced, you know, you can say, oh, I'll just call Harry, or I'll just call Bob or somebody, and just, you know, have them taking me over there or something. Or, you know, if you have somebody going to the hospital, which we've had a time or 2, and little people, you know, get fingers caught in doors, which happen, and you know there's somebody there to help you along the way. I can't think of anything more important than family connections.
Well, I quite agree with that. That's one of my greatest concerns. I think about it a great deal. The deterioration of the family unit. I think that is responsible for a great deal of our social problems today. I grew up when Maryville was a much smaller town, and working in my dad's studio as I did with a fellow I knew nearly everybody in town. And you knew people, you kept up with people, and when you went into a store, you knew the clerks, you called them by name, and it was just a much more friendly atmosphere than we have today in these big shopping malls. And I sometimes wish that I could have grown up on the farm, but since I didn't, I thought growing up in a small town like Maryville was the next best thing. And you made friends, and they were lasting friends. You knew your neighbors, and they were there to help, as Liz said. And you kept the same neighbors for years. People didn't move here and there as they do nowadays. And I like that. It's good memories of those days.
And I think it's so special to be a grandparent and be able to care for the children. Vera was saying family members can help out, but it's good for the family members to have that responsibility and be able to share their stories and their values. We're separated from our children, one pair in New Hampshire and the other in Missouri, and I keep thinking, oh, I just wish I had a little closer chance to be closer to them and with them. We make a lot out of the mail.
Well, thank you all. Is there anything you wish I'd asked you that you wanted to say before we close?
The first time we came to the Prophet Picnic was when David was just brand new. It was in 1953, and you all had the picnic at the Charlie Prophet home, and David that year was number 100. Now, I don't know whether you've had that many since or not, but when we signed the book, we thought that was kind of special. Probably those records are all gone now, but we remember the occasion.
It's nice to have the pictures that we've had taken different times, but we've kept them and, compare them over the years. When some of your generation were just little tiny people, and now they're, growing up with children of your own, and it's just so much fun to compare over the years.
Well, speaking of children, catch us up on yours now.
Okay, I'm going to let Worley turn that off. Good, we turning it off. Thank you, you all did great. And if this didn't turn out, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'll have to leave town. No. You want to rewind and make sure before we take any breaks that we're in.
A few years ago, just a little bit short of his 80th birthday. And I've already passed 80th, and my oldest brother Charles, he made 86. So he did pretty well.
Well, my family story is I stole Charles's job, stole Les's freedom, and the third brother, I just wasn't going to have anything to do with. The mortician decided he was out.
Right, you didn't want anything he had, did you?
That's really learned a lot of things that, I think so much of the time we assume that everybody knows what we know.
Exactly.
And that's not so. It really isn't. I remember reading the thing that Aunt Gray wrote, the little journal that she had. You remember that?
Yes, I do.
That was real interesting to read. All handwritten.
Yes.
It was just all
And that'd be a fun thing.
College, and he tells about the various dates and these big snap games. It was such a big social get-together.
There's so many tales of Maryville College, aren't there? One time I worked at Howard Johnson's at home. And, of course, I've been in the dining hall, waiting tables.
In New Jersey.
In New Jersey, I was in Howard Johnson's. And we had a real persnickety manager, a daytime manager. Part of the time I worked in night shift from 6 to 12, but part of the time was daytime. But this daytime manager was a real stickler, and it was, you had to wear a hose, and I mean, it was about the time when we quit wearing hose with the seam up the back, a seamless hose. He would come and check you to make sure you had hose on. But one of the things he did that Miss Ware, I learned from Miss Ware, was the ketchup bottle. And I mean to tell you, after the ketchup bottle had been used, you cleaned off the top of the ketchup bottle. You didn't put the top back on there with all that mess on there or anything else. So here I am just not even thinking about a thing, and I just got that ketchup bottle and I cleaned it off. And this man, I guess he was watching me while I did it, and then I wiped the chairs off, with the napkin or something like that. And he came over to me and he commended me for what I had done, and I could not believe, to get anything really a good thought from that man was absolutely out of this world, So well, thank you, Miss Ware.